How many people actually are gentle with themselves? Right? And maybe we think we're gentle with ourselves, but are we as gentle with ourselves as we would be with a newborn baby? It's really something to sit with, yeah? Just something very simple to sit with. The other line in that song that I use all the time when I'm teaching or at any point in process is you only have to go as fast as the slowest part of you can go, right? We're not a victim of whatever process we're stepping into. That we have some autonomy in that. We have choice in that. So there is nothing that you're being invited to step into as we are learning to trust ourselves in week 3 of our book study, that you need to be afraid of that. Because every part of you is aligned with exactly what it is that next breadcrumb for you to engage with. And that's all we need to focus on, right? That's what we talked about last week, is that breadcrumb. What's the next breadcrumb? So this week, her focus is on the block of us trusting ourselves is all of our perceived failures. Anybody in here feel like you've got some failures in your history, in your life, in your heart, in your relationships, in your... And the breakthrough component that we're being invited to sit with this week is around forgiveness. Starting with self-forgiveness, but also expanding that. Right? Because, what Edwene Gaines used to say, that holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Right? All of that is just working you, and it's not working you in a way that allows you to trust yourself, that enables you to be able to move forward. So, I loved this piece, and what I'm doing, because, the material is really lovely, and so I'm pulling the things that speak to me. In your small groups, feel free to point out the things that are really speaking to you, but this got me here. What if mistakes mark where you haven't hit your highest? We would all agree with that, right? Like, oh, that's a mistake, so I didn't hit my highest. But then, and I kind of paraphrased this because it wasn't super clear, so I made it clear. And Tama said to me, she goes, just make clear whatever you need to make clearer. Not because of the mistake, but because you haven't been loving toward yourself. Really think about what that means. All those places where we think that the mistake means that we haven't lived into our highest, it's not about the quote-unquote mistake. It's about how we navigate what we understand as being a mistake. And if we're not being kind to ourselves, that's the hardest place for us to be. You get in your own way when you perceive your life as full of mistakes. You discover your own way when you forgive yourself and others. How many people in here feel blocked in some way, in some aspect of their life? And if everybody's hands doesn't go up, I'm just like, come on, people, let's get real. We do not have the right, and it's not about perfection. None of this is about perfection. It's all about process, right? So tomorrow night, Rosh Hashanah, begins. And I loved the synchronicity of this being the chapter we're working on, and Rosh Hashanah appears at the same time, because there's this beautiful ritual for Rosh Hashanah, which is, it's called Tashlich. Everybody say that. Yeah, it's the like you're coughing up a fur ball, right? Tashlich, right? And the ritual is that you go to some sort of moving body of water, and you cast into that moving body of water, what we always did in my community was breadcrumbs, because you don't want to hurt the environment, right? And so you're throwing breadcrumbs into the moving body of water. And the idea is that, from Ezekiel, is cast away from yourselves all your transgressions and create within yourselves a new heart and new spirit. And there's so much synchronicity with this chapter and with what Rosh Hashanah is about, which is about making way We're in the midst of entering the Jewish New Year. And so in the Jewish tradition, we want to start the new year fresh. We want to reconcile with the past year so that as we move forward, we're still not carrying all of that with us. And so the idea is that we step into a ritual so that we can make peace within ourselves for all the ways that we feel that we did not meet who we know we are called to be. Tama says, I always thought that something in the future would save me. How many people think that, right? Eventually I'll become X. Eventually this will happen. It's all in the future. But I will keep going through a revolving door until I break free of my own condemnation. Self-judgment doesn't end until we end it. So there's no magic wand out there somewhere where all of a sudden in the future, someone or something or some experience even is going to lift us out of our self-judgment and our self-condemnation. We are the ones who get to create that space of compassion, that space for growth, that space to, we talk about in Unity, we're all about the metaphysical interpretations of everything, right? So in Scripture, when we talk about being crucified, what we're talking about is that place, that X, the place where we're pulled so tight and so open that we have no choice but to somehow transform. Anybody in here ever experienced that? It doesn't have to come to that. Oh, what a concept. It doesn't have to come to that. If we're paying attention along the way, we can be in process. Now, when we get to those points, we go, I didn't pay, but we don't beat ourselves up. It's never about the condemnation. It's always about our capacity to grow and to continue expanding. And part of it is we have to look at, what am I making my life mean? What is the meaning that I am attaching to the things that I can't let go of, or to the story that we're creating about our own life? And Tama says, you're called to drop the image or memory of your less resilient self. You are holding this idea of yourself more closely than truth. How many of us do that? We buy in to the idea that our humanness, and don't get me wrong, I love my humanness, but that somehow my humanness is all that I am. Our humanness is part of who we are, but I always say it, 100% human, 100% divine. Don't get caught up in the numbers. Just understand that we are all of that at the same time. Where are we placing our attention? On the 100% human? When we do that, we are completely attached to the memory of our less resilient self. When we place our attention on divinity, then we are accessing something that is actually the truth of who we truly are. So when we focus on our 100% humanness, we become the mistake instead of learning that comes from the mistake. And there's a very big difference in that. So in some ways, it's the difference between shame and, right? Shame is about thinking that I am the mistake, and so I have all this shame around it. Your behaviors are not who you are. Everybody say, my behavior is not who I am. My behavior is not who I am. Right? We can change our behaviors. Our behaviors are being invited to arise from the truth of who we are. Has anybody in here behaved badly? The laugh of recognition, right? It's okay. Look around. We're all laughing because we all behave badly. Ask my wife. I can behave badly. She experiences it, right? But that doesn't mean that's who I am. It doesn't define my sense of self. And that's what you're being invited to do, is to trust the truth of yourself rather than the narrative, the story, the meaning making we make. So what if we could see our story with new eyes? What if, and this is the big one, I call it Monday night quarterbacking. Remember when football used to only be on Sundays? Or it was Monday night football, so it was Tuesday quarterbacking. But now it's all the time, right? But the idea that you're going to go back and you're going to look at what happened in the past, and you're going to say, oh, I shouldn't have done that, because of who you are now. How unfair is that to yourself? I know this is hard to hear, but at any moment, at any time, we're all doing the best that we can. We're all doing the best that we can. And sometimes that best that we can is, wow, whoo, right? But it is still the best that we can in that moment. Can you feel the truth of that? So don't hold yourself accountable to something from then that you understand now. Because guess what? The reason you understand it now is because of what you went through then. So embrace the process. And can you let yourself off the hook? Can you say, you know what? It was okay. It was okay that I was really, like, the ending of that relationship was ugly. And I was ugly, right? I was ugly. I was hurt. I didn't know how to process it. I didn't know how to navigate it. I didn't know how to listen. I was so overwhelmed by my emotions that I was only being reactive. Anybody in here relate to that? And then we get to say, okay, so I know that didn't feel good, but I don't have to beat myself up about that. I can say, okay, so how is that going to inform the next choices that I am going to make? So we can often feel, though, that we get stuck in this pattern. Anybody ever feel stuck in a pattern? Or it's the same thing coming back around again? And you're like, here it comes again. I like to say that we're never stuck in a pattern because we're always evolving and growing. So even if we feel like it's coming back around again, we're not in the same place. And Tama says it much more clearly. The pattern is the same, but you are not the same. The pattern may be the same, but you are not the same. Which means that you have the opportunity to change, to make a new choice, to shift your behavior, to align yourself with something in a different way. Because that story that we create about ourselves or about the people that we're interacting with or about the world, remember my story about I never win anything, right? I have a story. I never win anything. My wife wins everything. I don't win anything. I won her. Right? I mean, I did, though. I won her. Like, there's nothing bigger or better than that. She can have the free stuff she wins all the time. I got her. Right? Universe never gives me anything. Who walked into my life? Right? So we get stuck in this inner story. We get stuck in this illusion. And it makes us think we're always going to be in the same place. You're never in the same place. Everybody say with me, I am never in the same place. Right? So one of the pieces we are invited to do, which is where I think a lot of the beating ourselves up comes from, is that we are being invited to accept responsibility for our role in something. And Tama shares this story with Marianne Williamson, and some woman was like, I keep dating all these losers. Like, why do these losers keep showing up? They're always losers. And Marianne Williamson said, the problem isn't that you're attracting the same guys. The problem is that you give them your number. That's the piece of responsibility, right? How much are we buying into the narrative and playing into it? And I did that whole series on sacred boundaries, and this is where we need to accept our role in something, but not from a place of, I'm a horrible person, but from a place of, oh, I keep giving what if I stopped giving my number to the people who are, you know the people that like trigger you, and you're like, oh, I don't think that's a good idea, but I don't want to be, and this is where boundaries come in. I don't want to be impolite. I don't want them to think that I'm, the B word, right? I don't want, whatever it is, whatever the narrative is in our head, and we roll right over our own understanding of what is actually true for what we're called to be and to do. So we get to accept responsibility for that. We get to say, okay, I get to choose. But one of the things she also said that I thought was really powerful was that she had to forgive herself because deep down she felt that a part of her deserved those bad things. How many of us do that? I don't really deserve a fabulous partner. I don't really deserve to have somebody love me. So I keep giving my number to people who won't love me. And then she has that epiphany. What? I could be flawed and not damned? Can I trust myself? Can I forgive myself? This is what we're being invited into. Can you be flawed? Are we all flawed? Everybody should be saying amen, right? Like amen that we're flawed. Because otherwise this would be boring. Life would be so boring if we were all perfect. You ever see any of the shows where like people are in heaven? They're all bored out of their minds. Right? So can we embrace the fact that, yeah, I have flaws. And my flaws can also be my strengths. And I'm invited to grow and maybe take some of the edges off of my flaws. But that they're still mine. I get to own them. I get to stand in them. Because love is what leads us to love. If we're carrying around resentment and we're carrying around unworthiness, guess what that leads us to? More resentment and more unworthiness. And judgment is the piece that really just gets in the way. How many people in here judge themselves? How many people in here judge others? Right? I mean, Chris and I were driving yesterday and she was, it's always that thing, right? Why is that person going so slow? Or, why is that person going so fast? Because everybody should be driving exactly the way she would drive, the way I would drive, the way each of us would drive. So that judgment piece is like almost automatic. That what are they doing? It's not the right way. They should be doing it differently. Anything that you're sending out there like that, guess what? You're sending it right here too. Because those voices are alive in you. That's where it originates from. I love this quote from Mother Teresa. If you judge people, you have no time to love them. If you judge yourself, you have no time to love you. And love is what leads to love. Love is what leads to trust. And it's when we trust that we get to show up as our most authentic self. So this forgiveness piece, this self-forgiveness piece is so important. And we do a lot of forgiveness work in Unity. Most spiritual traditions have a major component that is part of forgiveness because without it, it's almost impossible for us to grow. As long as we are holding ourselves on a crucible of not good enough, and we don't let ourselves down off of that crucifix, then we aren't allowed to move. We aren't allowed to grow. We aren't allowed freedom. And so Tama suggests, letting go of your perspective, what you think is right, what you think is good, what you think is going to work, and trying to glimpse the world from somebody else's eyes. Particularly the people who annoy you the most. I mean, this is the practice we've said yes to. It's easy to get a glimpse of somebody else's eyes when we love them and we get along with them and they're your best friend and you can totally see where they're coming from. But our practice is bigger than that. Our practice is to get a glimpse beyond the people who we already kind of get, to actually expand and widen that lens. And that's why one of our core values is inclusivity. That is the cornerstone of inclusivity. Can we step into somebody else's perspective and not make fun of it and not diminish it and not, make it smaller than, oh, yeah, sure, well, whatever, but that's not a big deal. It is a big deal if you're the one living it. So can we embrace those pieces of ourselves that feel outside? So the study guide is out and it's online. You can download it. Small groups are going forward, but here's some practices, right? So what story about yourself would you like to forgive? What's the story? You know it. You know that story that's like right there. What do you want to forgive? And is there maybe a story about someone else? Someone else where you're being invited to forgive? Is there a story where you made yourself wrong? And what images of yourself do you need to release? What are you holding on to about yourself? Right? We've talked about this, right? The narrative, oh, I'm too old for that, or I'm not smart enough for that, or I'm not outgoing enough for that, or I'm not, whatever it is, or I'm not thin enough for that, whatever that is, right? What would taking responsibility for your part in the pattern look like to you? Y'all know the patterns that keep coming around. What is the piece that you get to take some responsibility for? Because that's a place of empowerment. Can you feel that? It's not a place of disempowerment and, oh, I'm a bad person because look at me taking responsibility and it's all my fault, and then we spiral into the hole. It's about empowerment. Oh, I'm a participant. I am a co-creator of what I am experiencing. And my piece of responsibility here is, and I get to act on that. I get to listen to my deepest wisdom. When the relationship ended with my previous, it was 13 years, and it was ugly when it ended. And I didn't expect it to be ugly, but oh boy, it was ugly. And I kept trying to, I would describe it to people as, I kept trying to extend the olive branch, and then she would take it, and then she'd hit me with it. That's what it felt like, right? Over and over and over again. Then I distanced myself, and then but I'm a good person, so we should be, and I'd extend the olive branch again, and she'd hit me with it. And Chris finally looked at me, and she was like, honey, what are you doing? And some part of me felt like I deserved it, right? Because I didn't meet whatever her expectations were in the relationship. There must have been a part of me that was in agreement, because I kept showing up for it again and again and again until I finally said, oh, my role in this, all right? And I had tried to say no contact, and then she would break that, and I would break it with her. And so this is where sometimes our boundaries need to be really clear. I sent an email to her saying, I am ceasing all contact with you because this is not healthy. And if you reply or try to send me an email, I have set my system to put you immediately into junk and delete you. I will not see any email that you ever send me. Have a fabulous life. But that's what I had to do, right? I had to be that clear, because all my other stuff wasn't that clear. But I had to get to the place within myself where I didn't deserve to be treated like that anymore. I had to believe that, and I had to trust that it was okay, that the narrative that, oh my God, Deanne cut off all communication. She's not a very loving person, is she? It was like, you know what? I don't care what people say. I know that I am being incredibly loving to myself right now, and I'm being incredibly loving to my new partner right now, who was like, why is she still in our world? Fairly, right? Why is she still here? Who have you been judging? Who are you judging? And anything you're judging them with, guess what? Just bring it right on back and say, okay, let's do some work about how I feel that that's me, and how I work so hard to not be that, right? To prove to the world that I'm not that. That's what I was doing in that relationship. I'm not a bad person. Look, I keep reaching out. Right? I was trying so hard to prove something to the world. Can you imagine the world from somebody else's point of view? And I'm going to invite you to create your own ritual of release, your own tashi. Say it again, tashi. I'm going to invite you to create some sort of ritual of release this week for yourself. Go throw breadcrumbs somewhere, right? Or burn something up, or, put all the things you won't forgive yourself in these seeds and plant them in the earth so that something new can grow from it. Create a ritual so that you are embodying it in some way. Because that's how we learn, when we actually embody it. So let's take all this into our time of meditation. Because this is a lot, yes? This whole forgiveness piece. Whew. Can I forgive myself for offering the olive branch? Can I forgive myself for the fact the relationship went so sour? Can I forgive myself? Yeah, right? I can. And I'm going to invite you into that place with me. So let's take a breath together. And I know there was a lot that we were sort of touching on, but I'm just going to invite you to just center into your breath and center into your heart. And maybe there's one person or there's one situation. Maybe there's something you did or you didn't do that in this moment is asking for grace, that's asking to be released from this prison of judgment, of unworthiness. As we continue to quiet and to open into the infinite love that we truly are. And I just invite you to know with me how there's no obstacles to that kind of love. That love is infinite. That love is healing. That love is whole. That love has no limits whatsoever. And what if you place whatever it is that arose, the person, the situation, yourself, just place it into that infinite field of absolute love. The truth of your being, wrapping its arms and energy and compassion around that part of you that is truly like a newborn babe, holding yourself gently in that space as you allow yourself to forgive. To forgive. So let's just rest here in that place of love and forgiveness for a few minutes in the silence. And feel that love moving over you, washing away whatever it is that you are holding on to that no longer serves. And just whatever others have done to you, just the invitation right now is to forgive them. I forgive them. and whatever you might have done to others. Can you say to yourself, I forgive myself? And all the ways that you might have harmed yourself, can you forgive yourself, whether it was knowing or unknowing? So just say with me, I forgive me. I forgive them. I forgive me. I forgive them. I forgive me. I forgive me. I forgive me. And so I see us each going forth this week, just continuing to heal these places and spaces within ourselves, to toss the breadcrumbs of our supposed wrongness into the waters of infinite love, and to know that in that space, love always leads to more love. And a brand new day is ours. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. And so our affirmation today, I'll say it once and I'll invite you to know it with me. Today, I open my heart in love, releasing judgment and forgiving myself and others. Can we know this together, please? Today, I open my heart in love, releasing judgment and forgiving myself and others. And so it is.